Hello, welcome to the channel. Maverick here, and we are starting a new series of Appare-Ranman. No direct translation of the title here into English. In Japanese, the words basically mean something like, it's hard to get a exact translation, but basically related with the brilliant or blazing sun or something like that. Just basically a nice day, if you will. How that factors into the series, I don't know. This is an original work. But before all that, since this is a new series, as usual, I like to do my quick introduction to my channel, especially since a lot of you guys might be new here. So I'll typically structure my videos into 3 different parts. I'll have an introduction at the beginning of every episode, or a recap, if you will, a blind reaction in the middle, and then at the end, I will have a sort of discussion / review session where I go deeper into the storyline, the various concepts that it raises up, the questions it raises up, different morals or topics that are prevalent to the anime in particular, and I like to do a bit more analytical dive into it, if you will, particularly if it happens to be something that utilizes my knowledge as well. I think that is what makes my videos a bit more unique in a way, because I like to delve a little bit deeper. Some people like it, some people don't. You guys can decide if you want to watch that. They'll all be timestamped below for you to decide. So anyways, like I said, this is the first episode of this, and we should do a little bit of introduction, right? Well, the animation studio making this is actually PA Works, and this is an original from them. Now, PA Works are definitely not strangers to doing original works. Some of them are quite well received, something like Angel Beats and Iroduku, I think, was also made by them. Some are more on the questionable side, right? Such as Fairy Gone, which I've done on my channel. But I really can't fault them for trying to at least do some interesting concepts, right? And Appare-Ranman definitely fills into that mold as well. I watched the promotional video. It's definitely something quite unique and interesting, right? Its genre is comedy and history, and the historical part really caught my attention as well, because I actually did major in history while in university. But however, the subject matter is actually in regards to steam-powered automobiles in the late 19th century. So that is a really, really niche topic here. But hopefully we will get to see some interesting stuff in regards to history related with it. Maybe we'll also delve into some stuff like steam trains as well, or maybe just the general feel and look of the US during that time period. Now, beyond that, I think a lot of the times when looking at an original series, one of the most important things is to see who the person writing the script or the story actually is. In this case, it's actually the director, Hashimoto-san. Now, unfortunately, I haven't really looked at any of his other works, and the ones where he is the full director and story composer are quite far and few between as well. I think the most recognizable work of his, to me, is actually Tari Tari, which is, I guess I've heard some good things about it. I haven't really watched that one myself, but it seems to have some decent scores as well, so who knows. Definitely looking directly from the promotional video, I can see that this is going to be something that's going to be a little bit more out there. The entire artwork and feel of the characters actually immediately reminds me of Lupin III for some kind of reason. Although whether or not that proves to be true, I guess we'll have to go in and find out. Beyond that, I guess another notable thing is the cast, the voice actors for this series. We got a lot of first tier names in this one. Now, voice actors definitely can't make a series just by themselves. It's been proven time and time again that really is, you could have a mediocre cast and a great story, and then in the end will be great. Whereas if you have a great Seiyu cast but a mediocre story, they're not going to be able to save it, right? Still, it does at least kind of signify that the producers are putting a lot of faith into this work. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. Alrighty, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Oh, I should probably also mention that apparently there was 2 preview episodes already released. I think they had episode 1 and episode 2 released already through some other kind of channel. I believe through the anime channel related with Docomo, the Japanese telecom provider. But I'm just following the normal Japan broadcasting schedule and the normal schedule for streaming networks. Okay, definitely questionable how historical accurate this is. Okay. Oh, Appare is actually the name of the character? Alright. Appare Kosame. Funny enough, there actually was a sort of steam car race in the late 19th century. Although that one was definitely not trans-American because technology at that point could not keep up with that. I think the race was in Wisconsin, and just purely within that. And of course, they definitely wouldn't look like that either. Seriously? Okay. So I guess we can immediately throw anything related with history out the window here. In modern days, like, for instance, right now, how long would it take, actually, to do a coast-to-coast drive? Oh, hold that thought. Apparently, we have the opening here. Actually, how far is that? 3,000 miles? Something like that? I would assume it might even be a little bit longer. Maybe 4,000? $400 miles, 500 miles per day. Maybe about a week in modern days. How long it would take. They got gun kata as well? Alright. Gun kata, for anyone who hasn't watched Equilibrium, by the way, is when you do hand-to-hand combat with a gun in your hands. Alright. Definitely over to the top crazy. Sunny Appare, yeah, like I said, Appare-Ranman basically means, yeah, sunny days or whatnot. Okay. This is already, if it's late 19th century, it's already post Perry, right? So Japan has already been opened by the US fleets, by the US Navy. So a lot of Western information is flowing into Japan already. It's the Meiji era, though. Okay, so Appare actually comes from a pretty well-off family. This is all... Let me think. This would be around the time of the Meiji Restoration, right? Oh! Just like that. And then lock them back in. I never said it was something of last resort. The kanji on the back just says that it's a family heirloom. automation as well. It's gonna explode. Well, he's definitely a genius. Jill is burned from the earth. It seems that he's leaving anyways. What? Oh. Well, this guy is like well raised in traditional values. What is with his lips, anyways? I've been wanting to ask that ever since the, uh, saw the promotion video. Damn, how did he even make this in the first place? Wow. Alright. This is after the major restoration. Don't know. On the run. Fugitive. Oh, this is a nice sisters. Mm. And so he ended up going as well. Woo! Go! But seriously though, at that time in a steam engine, steamboat, going to America? That would take like weeks. If you're out of fuel, how? He actually reminds me a lot of Senku from Dr. Stone. But how are you gonna? In about 100 years, give and take. Quit being such a downer, man. No, but seriously, how are they going to continue on if there's no fuel? 7 days? Oh. US of A. Can they actually talk with each other though? How can he talk with them? Though I guess he actually understands English, considering he can read that book. I highly doubt that it was translated into Japanese. Oh, I would say they're in. Oh, yeah, California, Los Angeles. Okay, okay. Pretty nice first episode so far. Definitely interesting. Okay, there might be a little bit more at the end. I'll take a quick look and see. If not, I'll see you guys after this. Alrighty, so that was the first episode of Appare-Ranman, and I gotta say, it's using its historical label very liberally here. I mean, I think we can see just from the beginning of this episode with the car designs and whatnot that it's definitely not going for historical accuracy. I feel like they're going for a mix of stuff that you know, looking through the opening, right, we can see scenes where, yeah, it seems that they're using technology from even the mid 19th century, you know, the 1850s, 60s, or something like that, the Wild West, that type of scenario, versus you look at some things and it looks to be, you know, at least early 20th century. In fact, we even have Appare actually zooming along in a self-made Segway, which of course is actually a modern day invention, right? So it's definitely not going for historical accuracy here, but I guess they just want to sort of mix all these different things together. It is a comedy series first and foremost, after all, but I will say that the concept itself is pretty interesting. And some other things to note before I go into my review of this episode, actually, just some things I want to mention. Throughout this episode, I was questioning what exact time period they were in, right? The synopsis said that it was late 19th century, but still, it's hard to give an exact pinpoint as to the time period, right? Well, actually, we have a clue here, and the clue comes from the American flag, that Appare was able to hitch a ride from, right, on the steamboat. So, what I mean by this is that you can count the stars on the American flag, and I did, and there were 45 stars, which coincides with a particular design of the American flag from 1896 to 1908. And no, I don't have that on the top of my head. I went and Googled 45-star American flag, right? So we know that it is indeed at the turn of the century, right near when it's about to become the 20th century here. So yeah, I guess that's good to know. Although, like I said at the beginning, it's definitely not going for any sort of historical accuracy here. I think they even had like you know, just looking from some other things, I was checking the background of the artwork and whatnot. I think they even mentioned like Fort Lauderdale in there, and Fort Lauderdale definitely didn't really become a thing until the, I guess, 19, at least into the 20th century, right? In fact, I think even mid 20th century. I mean, it existed, but it's definitely not big enough that you would want to promote it in a faraway Los Angeles, right? So yeah, like I said, not going for historical accuracy here, but still, I thought it would be nice to share these kinds of fun facts about this. Some other references mentioned, we do see during the scene with the steamboat, we see Appare mention the Senku River, which is, I guess, it they didn't really explain the joke all that well, but basically the Senku River is a river that you need to cross before you enter the pool of reincarnation, I guess you could say. It's more of a Buddhist kind of thing, I believe. So when you die, you need to cross the river first and then reach the other side and join the afterlife or reincarnate or whatever the heck, whatever religion or that you fancy, right? So it was basically, the joke there was that he thought he was dead already and he was in the river, but the boat actually carrying him through the river was actually a steamboat. So just I guess some sort of joke there. Another kind of reference that they made was the li, which is basically a unit of measurement, of distance in particular, of pre-modernized Japan, right? So I guess you could say pre-World War II Japan. One li basically equals about 4 kilometers. So during that scene, Appare was basically saying that they were about at least 100 and maybe 110 kilometers offshore there. So yeah, that's basically it for that scene as well. Anyways, talking about the episode in particular and talking about the characters, like I said, Appare definitely reminds me of Senku from Dr. Stone. Both those kinds of misunderstood genius kind of people. Doesn't really have much interest in people or anything else. They just want to invent stuff. They just want to learn about stuff. They just want to create stuff. More interested in their own ideals, of course. Senku is, I guess, a little bit more open in a sort of way, because he also cares about his friends and whatnot. I think Appare basically has lived his life up to now being the shunned one, right? So perhaps we'll see more of his character development in the future once he reaches he reached America here, right? And maybe eventually getting to know some of his peers as well. Obviously we see that he has a companion already in Kosame. And then we also have that little girl that we see is tagging along for the ride later on, right? So, yeah. But definitely an interesting character already. I do love these kinds of characters who are smart and really don't give a shit about anything else. You can point a gun at him, you can point a knife at him, friend his life, and he'll be completely unfazed and saying, yeah, sure, whatever, right? I do like these kinds of characters, so that's already a plus for me. Yeah, I mean, overall, it's definitely not going for the historical route, like I've said this many times before, but it does seem to be something that's trying to go over the top, right? I think just the designs of the cars from the opening, from the beginning of the episode should give us insight into that part. So it all looks to be a pretty fun kind of thing, and the subject matter that it shows is quite interesting as well, right? I feel like steam cars are typically the forgotten cousins of automobiles, because, we typically associate steam-powered engines with steamboats and steam locomotives, but steam cars, they weren't really ever all that popular, right? And by the time that they actually were able to make some strides into development, by that time the internal combustion engine came online, and the world quickly shifted into the favor of those engines rather than cars powered by steam. So it's, I really wouldn't say that I know too much about steam cars, so it'd be nice to see their take on the situation here. And considering that this is the turn of the century, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually, in the end, even have a brief mention of these more modern cars, which use more modern types of engines, actually using fuel, gasoline, and whatnot to power themselves, rather than these probably coal-powered, steam-powered engines, right? So, it'll be interesting to see how they take this concept forward. I do like the first initial episode. Probably gonna make this a series, if the second and following ones keep this quality up. So yeah, that's basically it. I do think I will be making this into a series for this season. So there we go. That's it for this first episode. I'll see you guys next week. Until then, bye-bye.